Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as we are going to see quite variable conditions throughout the rest of this working week into the weekend. Wednesday into Thursday looking likely to be washout conditions through Wednesday for western regions, and then through Wednesday night into Thursday morning for eastern regions. However, once that low is cleared and all that rainfall is cleared by Thursday afternoon, Friday are looking pretty decent. Temperatures could even climb to maybe 24 or 25 degrees, as we do have average sort of air masses moving in, combined with some midsummer sunshine. It'll feel pretty decent. However, there's still low pressure around, so still could be some showers and some wetter weather as well. And that looks likely to be the theme in the longer range as well, as we look at the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, as this sort of unsettled westerly flow is going to continue. There will be some up and down conditions. There could be some quite stormy and settled conditions, but equally we could see brief ridges of high pressure as well, with perhaps some drier and warmer weather at times as well. But no consistent signals really at this stage of anything too major, just a continuation really of what we've had recently. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So you see at the moment on the live radar, there are just plenty of showers around at the moment, mostly in the north and the east, but also some across Northern Ireland and near the south coast as well. Some of these quite heavy, and a few thundery patches appearing within them, but mostly they're not too severe. Now we can see that across much of Europe, when we've been seeing some very hot conditions, especially towards southern Europe, we're seeing a bit of a change now. So all this extremely hot weather that has been making headlines is going to change in the next couple of days. We've actually got a big cold front sweeping southwards. Again, uncertain how far south it will reach, whether it will reach the far south of Greece, where we've got some issues with wildfires at the moment, but it'll definitely be reaching Spain, Italy, and much of Eastern Europe as well. And you can already see the big thunderstorms associated with this cold front sweeping southwards. And even seeing reports that there's a possibility of quite a large amount of snow over some of the higher points of the Alps, already over the peaks here, but could drop down to a few thousand metres, which again sounds really high, but relatively speaking for the middle of summer is a pretty low freezing level. As this cold front moves in, we'll be able to see that on the longer range runs, how much cold temperature deviation we do have in this area. So we're seeing a big flip in fortunes from ridiculously hot in many of these regions to quite cold for the time of year. Now remember, it is southern Europe, so cold for the time of year will probably be in the mid to high 20s or something like that. So it's not cold, but compared to what it's been recently, it's going to be a bit of a change. Now, if you do put on the 2 metre temperatures as around 2 or half 2, you can see big changes coming for much of Europe, but for the UK, we're generally stuck in this sort of average or slightly below average air mass. Again, some oranges appearing here, again indicating temperatures could get into the high teens, maybe touching 20 degrees. Nothing great, but much better than the drab conditions we did have for many over the weekend. You can see that cold front sweeping in much of northern and western Europe now down towards the mid-20s or lower, and that should start to impact these areas that are incredibly hot across southern Europe in the next 24 hours or so. You can see it's already cooling down across parts of northern Italy, and that should be spreading southwards and eastwards over the coming hours. And you can see how concentrated some of this heat is across Romania, for example, which is southern parts of Romania getting up towards the 40-degree range, northern parts dropping down to the low 20s as the thunderstorms and cold front sweeps in, all originating from the low pressure system that moved through the UK over the weekend. Now, if you do go over to the UKV and look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, we'll be able to see how we see quite variable conditions. Through the rest of this afternoon, just showers around, but nothing too crazy. And overnight tonight, you could see some persistent rain in the north at times, but nothing too bad. As said, into Wednesday, things will deteriorate quite significantly from the west, and you see by the afternoon, western areas seeing a huge wall of rain. Horrible, abysmal conditions there. Further eastwards, drier, a few showers around, but generally sunny and pretty decent. But by the evening, the rain will move in. But hopefully, if you are in those eastern regions, most of that rainfall will fall overnight. Now, you can see by the early hours of the morning, it is slowly clearing from the east, but we can see some quite drab conditions last all the way to lunchtime or even the early afternoon, with thicker cloud and areas of rain, especially for the south and east, and perhaps for northern Scotland as well, as that rainfall moves through. But the rest of Thursday afternoon into the evening, things should be clearer and sunnier as well. Into Friday, another day where we will see plenty of sunshine. Those temperatures could climb in places. Again, some showers around, but nothing too significant. And that will continue into Saturday as well, where there will be more extensive showers around, some heavier, especially in the north and the west, but equally sunshine and some warmer conditions for some. And the reason for this is the upper air temperatures between the weather systems will be more towards the average point. You can see that through Thursday afternoon around the 10 degree point at 850 HPA, and into Friday similar around 10 degrees at 850 HPA. Nothing spectacular, just about touching average, but luckily just about coinciding and lasting beyond that weather front sweeping through, meaning we'll just about see the aid temperatures at the surface, which we were unsure of over the past few days whether it would. Now, if you look at the 2 metre max temperatures, you can see through this afternoon just about touching 20 degrees, but mostly mid to high teens. So again, below average, pretty poor for the time of year. As we progress towards Wednesday afternoon, temperatures could just about get up to 22 or 23 in the Far East, maybe 24 in an isolated spot. So actually fairly warm, but still fairly warm compared to what we've had recently, but compared to average, pretty much just about average, or maybe slightly below in a couple of spots. In towards Thursday, again, could see those temperatures into the low, maybe mid-20s, 24 or 25 degrees is possible. Again, will be fairly decent. And then into Friday, again, could see 23 or 24. So it could be a couple of days of decent weather. I won't say anything great, because it is really what you'd expect this time of year. But it's going to be a lot better than what we've had recently. And then finally into Saturday, again, could just about nudge 21 or 23. But that cooler air is starting to sweep away, and there's going to be more showers in the north and west, which will hold those temperatures back. So improvements towards the latter part of this week, but really only improving back to what we'd expect for this time of year, which is a bit of sunshine, a bit of dry weather, and temperatures into the low to mid-20s. Now, if we do progress into the longer term and have a look at the GFS and see what that is producing over the next few weeks, you can see those northwesterly winds at the moment that are progressing into Europe, bringing much cooler air there. You can see the upper air temperatures sweeping this incredibly hot air mass away back out towards Middle East, with many parts of Europe cooling down. Now, the hot air will return, but it won't return anywhere near the capacity that it has been over the past few days. And the past week in general. Now, as we progress beyond that, some more low-pressure systems moving off the Atlantic, keeping the UK pretty cool and pretty unsettled. But you can see they're nothing too severe at this stage, and generally just weak areas of low pressure that are losing their strength. Could see some brief glimpses of high pressure in the longer term, which are giving us a little bit of hope of some drier, warm weather into early August, but they're not going to be hanging on all too long, as you can see plenty of lows spiralling in, just avoiding us for a few days there through the start of August. And you can see the upper air temperatures are pretty poor as well. Could briefly rise at times ahead of lows, but mostly will be pretty poor, with temperature deviation around average or below average. Now you can see the cold front sweeping into Europe at the moment. Look at that, much of central into southern Europe, including all of Italy, Sicily, parts of Spain, which have been roasting at recently, are going to be much colder than average, 6 to 8 degrees below average. Temperatures back down, perhaps even into the 20s in some of these regions, which is well below average for the time of year and well below what it's been recently. So that should help these areas that have been incredibly hot, and this is coming in the next 24 hours or so. Southeast Europe, the far southeast of Europe towards Greece, may just have to wait until maybe Thursday for that cooler air to sweep in, but it eventually will. And you can see throughout the rest of this GFS run, there will be average or above average temperatures returning for southern Europe, but we're not expecting those darker reds widely as we have seen over the past few days and the past week or two. That is one good sign. If you look at the GM now, you can see at the moment we've got the northerly wind or northwesterly wind moving at the moment, pretty cool conditions, more lows moving in this week, and you can see quite an active low moves through on Wednesday to Thursday, or an active weather system moves in, but the actual centre of the low doesn't quite get it in before it does slowly move in, but weakening as it does, giving us more unsettled but not quite as disruptive sort of conditions there. And that continues all the way to day 10. No real signs of anything major in terms of higher pressure, generally cooler than average and pretty unsettled with deeper lows moving in. So not great, probably pretty much worse than the GFS there. with not even any signs of any real high pressure building in there at all. At least GFS had some glimpses. If we look at the ECMWF, again, northwesterly flow moving in, more low pressure systems coming in off the Atlantic over the coming days and the coming week or so, but still being much weaker over the next 5 days than they were last week, meaning the weather fronts will be weaker or even non-existent, and it will generally just be an area of showers and more blustery winds. But as we head towards early August, the low pressures could stay a bit more intact here from the ECMWF. Nothing too ridiculous, but towards day 10, low pressure system parks up towards Scandinavia. If we saw this in the winter time, this would be incredibly cold with northeasterly winds, but being the middle of summer, it's generally just average to below average, with the air originating up from our north. You can see much of Scandinavia is actually milder than the UK, and you can see that from the temperature deviation. Really cool and really poor, not good at all. And you can even see this from the accumulated precipitation. Again, as I said, there will be some dry weather, but we're still expecting a lot of rain over the next 10 days, as you can see here. Jet stream directly pointed over the top of us, giving us huge barrage of precipitation from all these lows. Not looking good indeed. Now, if you finish by looking at the ensembles, you can see that generally it's looking average to below average over the next few weeks. Towards the end of this week, you can see a day or two where it's average to above average, just about after the rainfall does clear. A day or two ago, we thought it was just about going to coincide with the rainfall moving through, but it luckily looks like it could just about hang on for Thursday and Friday, meaning those temperatures are a few degrees higher than we thought a day or two ago. But beyond that, temperatures will be more below average and plenty of precipitation around. London, of course, will have lower precipitation areas further northwards, being further away from the centre of the lows and from the weather fronts, which will be enhanced further westwards. So if you look at this, the rainfall will be higher elsewhere. We can even just compare it briefly to Glasgow. Again, precipitation a lot higher than the London area and still well below average. Some glimpses of some warm weather in the longer term, but once again, nothing distinct, mostly are cool and pretty horrible. The 2 metre temperatures are not looking great. You can just about see glimpses of low to maybe mid-20s later part of this week, maybe 25 degrees at best, but after that into next week, back down towards 20, 21, 22 at best, and that looks likely to be the tip-top temperature for the next week or two. Now, things can change very quickly, especially this time of year where hot air masses are never too far away, but we really aren't seeing too many glimpses of that at this stage. If we did start to see 5, 10, 15 ensemble members starting to consistently show those upper air temperatures increasing, consistently show higher pressure building in, then we'll be able to have a little bit more confidence, a little bit more hope. But at this stage, we're not seeing anything remotely good. If you look at the ECMWF just to finish, just make sure the GFS ensembles aren't being anomalous, and they are. You can see generally here cooler than average upper air temperatures apart from the latter part of this week and where the weather front may move through on the 1st of August. And apart from that, precipitation will be high and temperatures will be cold. Not good at all. Again, nothing amazingly far below average, a degree or two, but still not making it feel as summery as it should be, or as it has been over the past few years. This July has statistically been generally average and will probably end up slightly below average in terms of temperature and much higher precipitation, but the biggest deviation we'll have is compared to the last few years. That's why a lot of people are finding this July so abysmal. Not because statistically it is that abysmal. It's not great, but it's not as horrible as, I'm certainly making out to be, and certainly others are. It's just really poor compared to the last few Julys, where temperatures have regularly got into the mid-30s, or we've at least had a week or two of hotter, drier weather. Not seeing any of that this year, and it's just making this fairly average or below average July feel even worse. And you can see that from these 2 metre temperatures, even poorer than the ECMWF, with those 2 metre temperatures hardly touching 20 degrees on some of these days. Not looking good indeed. Really hoping to have an update in the next few days, the next week or so, where we're able to have a little bit more optimism with these temperatures and the overall conditions. But at this stage, unfortunately, not really able to give you any good news on that part. The continuation of autumnal conditions in the middle of summer are looking likely. So yeah, Thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Hopefully I've got some better news for you over the coming days. But at the moment, staying fairly unsettled and fairly cool. But we should have some glimpses of something warmer and drier at times. Specifically, the latter part of this week, Thursday, Friday, could be pretty decent. And maybe into Saturday as well if you're in the south and east. As I said, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you again for another video soon.